Right, but I think that the reason that people are so extreme against the NRA is because the NRA has such a militant strength, especially a power in Washington, to veto or to stronghold any sensible gun law. They have been against every sensible gun law until yesterday, including trigger locks, so that children, which there are 500 a year that die, don't get killed.
I'm not a spokesman for the NRA. In fact, all I can tell you is I was a member when I was a kid. I was a junior NRA member. I learned firearm safety. And from what I see in the last 3 months, they don't do a lot of the stuff that you assume they do.
Well,
they are for trigger locks. They're for a lot of things, as long as they're voluntary.
Well, they're against the registering of guns. We have to register cars. Why shouldn't we register guns so that when a crime is committed, we can trace who has owned it?
You know, I understand how you feel. This is a really contentious issue, probably as contentious and potentially as troubling as the abortion issue in this country. All I can tell you is it rushes to pass legislation at a time of national crisis or mourning. I don't really think are proper. And more importantly, nothing in any of this legislation would have done anything to prevent that awful tragedy in Littleton. What I see in the work I've done with kids is a troubling direction in our culture, and where I see consensus, which is what I think we ought to concentrate on in our culture, is, look, nobody argues anymore whether they're conservatives or liberal, whether our society is going in the wrong direction. They may argue trying to quantify how far it's gone wrong or why it's gone that far wrong, whether it's guns or television or the internet or whatever. But there's consensus saying that something's happened. Guns were much more accessible 40 years ago. A kid could walk into a pawn shop or a hardware store and buy a high-capacity magazine weapon that could kill a lot of people, and they didn't do it. The question we ought to be asking is, look, suicide is a tragedy. And it's a horrible thing, but 30 or 40 years ago, particularly men and even young men, when they were suicidal, they went and unfortunately blew their brains out. In today's world, someone who is suicidal sits home, nurses their grievance, develops a rage, and is just as suicidal, but they take 20 people with them. There's something changed in our culture. That's not a simple...
But you can't say that guns don't bear a responsibility. If the makers of the Tech-9 assault rifle, why would the NRA be against assault rifles? This is a gun that can shoot 5 bullets in a second. This is the gun that those boys brought into the school. Why the NRA wouldn't say, as a matter of compromise, we agree, assault rifles are not good.
I can't speak for the NRA.
But you're their spokesperson, Tom, so you have to be responsible for what they say.
I'm not a spokesperson.
But if you put your name out and say, I, Tom Selleck...
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not a spokesperson. Remember how calm you said you'd be... Now you're questioning my humanity. No,
not your humanity. I think you're a very humane man.
Okay,
I'm saying that if you say...
I disagree with you, but I think you're being
But you can't say that I will not take responsibility for anything the NRA represents if you're saying that you're going to do an ad for the NRA. You can't say that. Do you think you can?
Look, there's, you know, you're carefully skirting the issue. It's an act of moral vanity, Rosie, to assume that someone who disagrees with your political agenda to solve our problems cares any less or is any less
I never said you cared less.
Well, let me
Tom,
finish
I don't think you cared less, nor do I think the men in the NRA cared less. I simply said, and the women, I simply said, why can there not be a compromise on the issue?
There is a compromise.
What?
There's a compromise in enforcing laws. There's a compromise in not allowing kids with guns in school. The problem is, and what you don't seem to realize, you seem to have some sort of, look, we all hang out with people we agree with, and you have a very one-sided view of the fact. What you don't understand is laws that
As does the NRA, and the people you hang out with in the NRA have a one-sided view as well.
I don't hang out with people in the NRA.
Okay, well, you're saying I hang out with people with my views. I'm just saying.
I said people tend
to. We all tend to. The NRA does, and the un-NRA does.
You know, this is a nice one-sided conversation, but you keep interrupting me. Remember how civil you said we were going to be?
I let you talk for 4 minutes without saying one thing. Okay. I did. I didn't say one thing. I simply asked a question about what their philosophies are, and you don't want to.
I told you. When do you want to get to television and violence?
I agree.
Game shows.
I agree. Game shows.
And how do you reconcile? What
you mean video games? I agree.
Please let me finish. Let me just say one thing. What you're really talking about, and at least what I'm talking about, is, are we a responsible enough society in terms of television, in terms of guns, in terms of everything else, to be this free. That should frame the debate. My answer, unfortunately, in this culture is probably not, but I'm going to go down with the civil liberties ship in all the Bill of Rights and apply them equally. That's the way I feel. You can ask me specific questions about anything, but it's simply stupid political rhetoric.
Well, it's not stupid political rhetoric, but he also has freedom of speech, but you're not allowed to scream fire in a crowded movie theater because it threatens the safety of other people. Assault weapons threaten the safety of other people. There's no reason, in my opinion, to have them. You want to have a hunting rifle? Great. You want to have a handgun?
Do you really think the Second Amendment is in the Constitution to guarantee hunting and target shooting? Do you really think that's what the Founding Fathers
I think the Second Amendment is in the Constitution so that we can have muskets when the British people come over in 1800. I don't think it's in the Constitution to have assault weapons in the year 2000. But I'm wrong, I guess. This is the problem. Here's what happens. The people with opposing views, there is no compromise because you feel attacked, I feel attacked. You feel misunderstood.
I haven't attacked you.
Well, I think that in a different...
I've disagreed with you.
And I've disagreed with you as well. But mine comes in the form of attacking because...
I haven't mentioned assault weapons once. I haven't mentioned a lot of things once. I just... The nature of this debate is it... I didn't come on your show to have a debate. I came on your show to plug a movie. That's what I'm doing here.
And that's what we did.
If you think it's proper to have a debate about the NRA, I'm trying to be fair with you.
As I am trying to.
This is absurd. You're calling me a spokesman for the NRA?
Tom, if you're a celebrity and you're doing an ad that says that I am the NRA, then what should have been
Have you read the ads?
I have read the ads.
Good.
Did you read the ads?
I said them. I read what I say.
Okay, well, I do too. And, this is not supposed to be a personal affront, and it's not. I don't say that
it's certainly very entertaining. Look at the audience. They're just laughing and having a great old time.
Well, it's a serious subject. I don't think it's a lot to laugh about.
No, that's fine.
All right. Well, this has not gone the way that I had hoped that it had gone. But I would like to thank you for appearing anyway, knowing that we do have differing views. I was happy that you decided to come on the show. And if you feel insulted by my questions, I apologize because it was not a personal attack. I was meant to bring up the subject as it is in the consciousness of so many today. That was my intent, and if it was wrong, I apologize to you on a personal level.
It's your show, and you can talk about it after I leave, too.
Well, I thought I would give you an opportunity to discuss your side of it, which is what I hoped that I did, and if it was wrong, then I'm sorry for that. All right, obviously, it didn't do much good. But The Love Letter is a great movie with Kate Capshaw, Tom and Ellen DeGeneres. That is the reason you're here, and I thank you for coming to talk about it. It opens on Friday. Tom Selleck, we'll be right back with Jake Lloyd.